Okay, welcome back to Last Take. Big Super Bowl week. We got some football we got to discuss. The biggest game of the year. We've got some baseball. Trevor Bauer signing, surprisingly not making his announcement on Super Bowl Sunday like everyone predicted. And we got some baseball rule changes. But first, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, take out the trash. Make sure you get your tire pressure adjusted in your car. That little light is probably on. Just note, just make sure that happens. I'm trying to think anything else to put on the daily to-do list other than like, comment, subscribe.
I would floss, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because when you go to the dentist and they ask you if you've been flossing and you both know that you haven't, and it's just a weird tension and you try and lie and say that you have, just floss once every couple days, even if you don't get to it every day. Just make your conversation with the dentist a little bit easier. Just throwing it out there.
Just a little preventative maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an oil change in your car, flossing your teeth.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So, in case you guys didn't hear, there was a big game this weekend. The Super Bowl happened. The one thing that I thought was impossible to happen happened. I thought there was no chance that the Chiefs would wind up getting blown out. But obviously, football has been unpredictable. It's been an unpredictable year, and that's exactly what happened. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the Super Bowl champions. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9. Tom Brady, damn it, was the MVP again. 201 yards, 3 touchdowns. God damn it. It happened again. And it happened again.
Yeah, I mean the signs were all there realistically when you play hindsight's 2020 in the Monday morning quarterbacking. The Chiefs missed both tackles, which ended up being a huge deal when you combined it with the fact that Mahomes and his turf toe could not run and scramble as well as he usually can. So that made things tough on the offense. Plus the fact that the Bucs defense is just playing out of their minds right now. So first things first, I know the headlines are going to be about the game Brady and the offense played and how Mahomes and his offense played, but shout out to Todd Bowles and that defense because that guy was an absolute laughingstock as the Jets coach, but I think he's officially removed the Jets stench from him now that he had his defense dominate Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So good on him. But the headline, like you said, Tom Brady wins again.
Yeah, it's really annoying that he's aging like fine wine. And the older he gets, it kind of seems like he's entering like his 5th prime. Like I don't even know how many primes he's had at this point because everyone's like, oh, well, this has got to be his last year. Everyone thought, oh, it's only one more year with the Bucs, maybe 2. Maybe he'll have a good end of the year if he goes to the Super Bowl. That's awesome. And he won it, and it looked easy. Like it still looks so easy to him. Like I don't know if he's bringing the Patriots scheme there, or if it's just like that argument is officially over and it's just Brady is just makes everyone around him better. But I don't see an end in sight. And I tweeted this. I think it's the most annoying part about this Super Bowl and about Tom Brady winning again is that there's no end near. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for football fans who want to see their teams, kind of come to the top. I guess if you're not the Chiefs. There's no end in sight for Tom Brady. I wouldn't be shocked if he played another 3 to 5 years at this point because this looks simple to him. Football is getting easier. It looks like it's getting more fun for him somehow. No picks in a Super Bowl. Granted, the Chiefs defense, honestly, the whole Chiefs team didn't show up at all, other than Pat Mahomes, who was hurt and running for his life almost comically the entire time. It was funny how much he had to run away from the Bucs. It was really like ready, go, and he's just running immediately. So the main takeaway for me is that I'm just consistently annoyed, and I guess will be consistently annoyed for the foreseeable future about Tom Brady and him winning probably again. At this point, I don't even know anymore. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, when Brady first signed with the Bucs, which feels like a million years ago, that was like beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I kind of figured, all right, he looked pretty terrible last year. Not terrible, but the Patriots get eliminated in the first round. He doesn't look good. He'll go to the Bucs. He'll probably play 1 or 2 more years. Now, after this year, that's out the window. There's no timeline on his retirement. I honestly could see him shooting to play until he's 50 just because. And who knows, knowing him, he could probably take a team to the conference championship when he's like 50 or some shit. But the story to me is just how much the Chiefs failed Mahomes. And I know he wasn't 100% himself. I get it. Like I said, the turf toe, he couldn't scramble as much. But that throw, and it's the picture that's been going around Twitter where the ball is maybe like a foot off the ground. He's falling. He's getting chased by defenders. And 30 yards down the field, hits his guy in the face mask, and he drops it. It was just a microcosm for the entire game because he was doing everything he could to keep them in it, but he was just completely let down by his offensive line and his receivers. So I am absolutely dreading the fact that for the next 7 months, you're going to have everyone with a Twitter account that wants to sound hot takey and get some replies that day, be like, well, actually, Mahomes is overrated. Like, you're going to see how many quarterbacks are we going to see ranked above Patrick Mahomes coming into next year? People are going to come out and be like, well, actually, Dak Prescott, or actually, like, no, he's the best quarterback in football. Yes, he didn't play his best game, but he was also completely let down by the entire team. So I feel bad for him. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm sure he'll be back next year. I'm sure this won't be his last Super Bowl, but I feel bad for the guy. I do.
Yeah, the Chiefs just, as an overall, just looked incredibly unprepared. They looked unprepared and unmotivated. I don't know if it has to do with the week of practice they had. Andy Reid's son getting in a bad accident. I'm sure that had to do with a lot of distractions. Them not having their starting offensive linemen, their two tackles. I'm sure that was some veteran leadership in terms of, that offensive side of the ball. But I mean, the take that Mahomes, and I agree with you. I think people are going to start to say, oh, well, look at how he played in the Super Bowl. He can't show up for the big game. There's going to be all those arguments. But I think the majority of sound-minded people are going to know that Patrick Mahomes, honestly, played an unbelievable game. He did everything he possibly could, and the Chiefs just didn't show up. And I think he might be putting to bed just based on how well his physical play was. Obviously, the stats won't show it, but based on how well his physical play was, the fact that people are like, oh, you can put any quarterback on the Chiefs and they would still have good stats. I mean, is that true to a degree? Yeah. Or Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, they had, for the most part, minus last game, but they typically have a pretty good offensive line, pretty good running backs. Yes. Would most quarterbacks be successful in that system? Most likely. But I mean, I think you really got to see how talented and how otherworldly Patrick Mahomes is, whether it be the throw that he made a foot off the ground, him spinning around, throwing basically a no-look pass behind what it was essentially behind the back because he was facing the other way. Another pass to Tyreek Hill that hit off the face. They made a lot of mistakes, and I think Patrick Mahomes proved to people that no, this isn't a great system. It is. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes is otherworldly talented, and I think he showed people that. And almost everyone was just like, now you're feeling bad for Mahomes because he's almost too good for the Chiefs. Like, in what world are we ever going to be thinking that? So I don't know. The Super Bowl really brought around, I think it proved a lot of things. It proved that Tom Brady, I think, is immortal. And it proved that Patrick Mahomes is maybe getting there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do think one thing that is going to be tough for Mahomes after this game is if you really want to look far down the road and assume that Mahomes keeps up the current pace, wins a couple more Super Bowls, breaks some records, it's going to be tough for him to take over Brady in the GOAT debate, because if he would have won this game, you're looking at 2 Super Bowls for him, 6 for Brady, and he has the advantage in this game. Now you're looking at, even if he does get up close to 7, maybe wins 5 or 6, which still we're talking about 5 to 6 more Super Bowls.
First ballot Hall of Famer, easy.
Yeah, we're talking a lot more championships. But even if he does do that, there's always going to be but a 43-year-old Brady beat a 25-year-old Mahomes. So now what? So unless he has an unfathomable career, which in the NFL, as much as Tom Brady's defied it by winning more championships than any other franchise, which is just a fucking stupid stat, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to get to the point where he's even close to challenging Tom Brady and his accolades. So, and that's not a knock on Mahomes. It's a credit to Brady, just how ridiculous it is. Of course, he throws the first 2 touchdowns to Gronk too, because it's just like, I feel like we've been watching the same thing for the past 10 years, Brady throwing to Gronk in the Super Bowl. But I don't know.
Antonio Brown, who was on the Patriots too. Like, what?
Yeah, why are
we even playing these games anymore?
I've just given up on it. So it is what it is. But the most disappointing thing about this game to me, and I know you feel the same way, we were screwed from the opening coin toss.
Tails never fails. It statistically doesn't make sense how it.
I'm never going to stop saying tails never fails, because what rhymes with heads? Heads what? Heads in your dead. I don't know. There's no good rhyme for heads. I'm not betting heads. And to be honest with you, I'm calling bullshit on that coin toss. It wasn't even a toss. It was more of a coin drop. Like the girl kind of just like let it go. Listen, if you're tossing a coin in the Super Bowl, you got to give me at least like 2 rotations, just a little bit of flexibility in that thumb. Like, act like you want to be there. If you were tossing the coin in the Super Bowl, like, I would be practicing for weeks. I would be having that thing doing tricks. This girl just drops it on the ground. So I personally thought all bets should have been voided on that. It is what it is. I ended up getting the Gatorade color right, which was blue. I just took it with like plus 700. So that salvaged my betting night entirely. But once that coin flip went the way that it did, I knew we were in for a long night.
Yeah, there's definitely coin etiquette. You at least got to get a good enough flip to get it like spinning in the air. Maybe look, if you're trying to have a good time, get it off the knee like you're juggling it like a soccer ball or something like that. Have a party. Really go for it. Make a name for yourself. Be the coolest coin flipper in the history of Super Bowl. I don't know. She dropped the ball on that one. I agree. You definitely got to give it a little effort there. Yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing. I went. Actually, I won 2 things. I bet on about 16. Yep. One of the worst betting days in history of my betting career. The first thing I won. And this is so sad. The first and only physical bet that I won was the over in touchdowns. That was the no-brainer that DraftKings gave me, 0.5. So the fact that a touchdown happened was the only bet that I won. The other thing that saved me from the night was I was in a pool that I won the first quarter because I had 7-3. So that won me back $100 right there. Pretty much everything else I just absolutely lost. So a notoriously and infamously bad betting night for me, and it all started with tails. The vibes were off.
Yeah, everything about this game sucked. I mean, not just the fact that I honestly got over the fact that Brady won. It is what it is. It's nothing I haven't seen before.
Surprised me, yeah.
But for the Super Bowl, all I ask is just for a good competitive game. It doesn't have to be an all-time classic, but this was one of the 3 worst Super Bowls I can remember. And from what I've seen on Twitter, we've been pretty lucky with Super Bowls. The first one I really consciously remember was that first Seahawks one, Super Bowl 40, Seahawks Steelers. So, pretty much since then, I've really thoroughly enjoyed every single game with the exception of 3, which was Super Bowl 48, which I know was a great one for you, where the Seahawks beat the Broncos, but that was just not even close to being competitive. 53, which was Patriots beating the Rams, just because that was the slowest, most boring, actionless Super Bowl that maybe I've ever seen. And then Sunday. So those are just 3 brutal games. Apparently back in like the 80s and 90s, a lot of the Super Bowls sucked and were blowouts. So we've been mostly lucky, but ending the football season on such a shitty game is just such a blow, because not getting football for 7 months is already really shitty. But to end it on a game like that is just like, shit, I don't get another chance to watch a decent football game for 7 more months now.
Yeah, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, that's for sure. But we were blessed with something I think this is the only time it's happened in Super Bowl history, a streaker, right? I think that's the only time that's ever happened. I mean, they brought it away, but I mean, we were like, look, I mean, I was watching the game and I was like kind of like zoned out by that point. I think it was like late 3rd, early 4th. Like it was kind of just like what's like this. You sense the game was definitely starting to get out of hand. So like you're checking Twitter, you're kind of just like over it. And then I just hear someone say, "Oh my God, a fan's on the field!" And it's like, "Wait, oh my God, like there's actually something interesting happening on the game right now." So that was, I mean, say what you will, that was awesome.
And then Kevin Harlan's call of it was incredible. This was like, it wasn't the first time he's done something like this. Like I remember, I think it was last year, he had the call when the black cat came on the field at MetLife, and he was like calling that too. So he's really good at these. I think Kevin Harlan needs to get the Monday Night Football job just because whoever ESPN brings in always sucks. Kevin Harlan is electric, so I would love to see him get that job. But I'm still trying to figure out that screenshot that's going around of the guy saying that the streaker put money on himself, like plus 7,500 for there to be a streaker. So he won like 375K, used $1,000 of it to bail himself out and netted 374,000. That seems too good to be true.
That seems illegal. Otherwise, wouldn't everyone do that? I would do that next week. Or I guess the next time I'm allowed in the stadium. The next time I'm allowed in the stadium, I would look at the bet, place it, and just run. Are you kidding me?
I don't
Free money.
It seems like bullshit, but I want to believe it. I would just think that no bookie would take like a bet that, like, I think it said he put like $5,000 on it, I guess. So what bookie would take a $5,000 bet on a prop like that? Like, I feel like that just screams like, something. I don't know. I'm going to choose to believe it until it's proven as wrong. That's how the internet works. You see something, you're allowed to believe it and report it as fact until it is disproven directly to you.
You know what it reminds me of? That Family Guy episode when they're doing Family Feud and Peter gets like some ridiculous answer and he's like, Peter, how did you know that? He's like, I was in the survey.
Yes, exactly.
That's literally exactly what it is. No, but Nick, I'm curious about this. What would it take you to run onto the field? Like what would you need to be confirmed? What are your qualifications for running on the field? What do you need to happen? Like if I was going to say, Nick, go run on the field, what's holding you back and what would make you go?
First of all, I need to be absolutely obliterated. I don't think I could physically do it unless I was under the influence heavily, which I'm sure that guy was, as are all streakers. So that's pretty much a given. Number two, it needs to be a stadium that I didn't care about going back to. Like, I don't know if there's a dollar amount you could put on it to like make me run on the field at Yankee Stadium where I can't go to a Yankee game again. So it would have to be some sort of neutral site. And then three, I don't know. I guess just a lot of money. I mean, $374,000 sounds pretty good to me. So I don't know. I don't think that's the kind of thing that would make you like not be able to get a job in the future. I don't think it's like a reprehensible crime. You could just be like, yeah, I was 23 and drunk. So it's not something I'm considering, but if someone really wanted to fund it and had the money, I'll push your product on the field. I'll streak.
Push your own product, I guess. I agree with all those. I need one more qualification though for me to do it. I want the fines covered, that's for sure, which essentially happens in the money. Have to be drunk just because I mean that's a massive adrenaline rush. Three, the boys got to be there. Absolutely. There's no way I'm going onto the field without all of our friends being there and like cheering me on. I'm not doing that under an alias. I want my name out there and people knowing that like I did that, and like I they got to see that because then that is credit forever. You like if they say anything like oh you're the word, you can't do that, like no, like I ran on the field, that you're good.
You definitely need a hype up crew. If your boys can't convince you to make poor decisions while you're drunk, they're not your boys. So that I'll agree with that one. Yeah, so we're on the same page there for sure.
All right. Well, yeah. I don't think either of us are really planning on doing that anytime soon. But I mean, I guess.
Listen, if someone
that would make a great video.
If someone puts $375,000 in front of me, I can guarantee you I'll at least consider it.
Yeah, I'm all in on that. So, but unfortunately, that was probably the only exciting thing from the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't pay attention too much to the commercials. There was a few good ones. I thought there was a few funny ones, but for the most part, they were just okay. Halftime show I was okay with, but I mean, I don't know. What do you think about the commercials?
I didn't pay a ton of attention. Everything I gathered, they all pretty much sucked. I mean, it's just, I remember like watching the Super Bowl when I was a little kid, and I don't know if part of it was just because I was younger and this was like peak humor to me, was like Super Bowl commercials. That's probably it. But like also it was pre-social media, really. Like people weren't having things circulate and just getting angry about the most random things. So I think companies nowadays are just like super nervous to like have any commercial like that someone is remotely offended by, so they just kind of stay away, and they all just now they're all about like values. They're like, oh, like yeah, we're fucking Cheetos, like we're standing up for like everyone's rights. It's like, dude, like no one is asking for your stance on this Cheetos. Like we get it. We hope you're not misogynistic. Just fucking push the product. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like if you're looking for Cheetos stance on issues in America, then fucking figure it out, because you are clueless.
Yeah, just make the cheetah say something funny, please.
Yeah, literally. Just make me laugh. Like make me laugh for 2 seconds. Like it's not that hard. You don't need to go anywhere that anyone's gonna get offended. No one cares. Like it's like no one is going to feel inspired from your shitty Super Bowl commercial.
You know which one really made me mad?
Which one?
Drake from State Farm. That made me so angry. I saw some people that liked it. Also, fuck you. Well, that made me so angry. I don't care that it rhymes. I don't care that it rhymes with Jake. Just this celebrity grab just makes me so annoyed. And it was just like, oh my God. Like I was just it got so under my skin that they were just like, oh, let's get Drake. You know, like, well, oh my God, nobody
Two
cares.
things about that. One, I'm not thrilled in general that they replaced the original fat khaki wearing Jake with this new young like ripped guy. Like what the fuck is that all about? When did Jake
I gotta give it
get hot? I'm not a fan of that. Second of all, someone pointed out that the Drake curse was very much alive in that commercial, because both Mahomes and Rodgers are State Farm guys, both lost to Brady within the last 2 games, hence Drake curse. So yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on. But State Farm, you done fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, that game's on State Farm then. I thought it was on Andy Reid and the coaching staff for being unprepared, but it's on State Farm. I mean,
they get at least 30%.
Who else can I blame?
No one else. Maybe coin flip girl, but those are the 2 takeaways.
Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, kind of an annoying end to the year. I can't say an unexpected one, but definitely not the one that most football fans wanted. I would have been good with seeing the Chiefs continue their dynasty, but I guess it's kind of put on hold, or maybe it's just not the dynasty that we were, sort of expecting. But, it is what it is. We're going to have to deal with Brady being a champion for another year, posting about it, blah, blah, blah. He's all happy. Gronk's happy, et cetera, et cetera. Moving on to baseball. There was some news this past week. First up, before we get to like all the different rules changes, Trevor Bauer, as I correctly predicted, signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers after teasing the Mets with merchandise and tweets and I guess leaking stuff to reporters. I think he did. I think Luba did too, to try to up the ante with the Dodgers. But officially, he signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and this can all finally be over. I'm sick of talking about him, honestly.
Yeah, we've hit on this before. I don't know that anyone's public perception has taken a hit this quickly without like a serious scandal breaking than Trevor Bauer. Like this dude was just such a big attention whore, and I get it. He had a great 2020, but let's not pretend a 12 start sample size makes this guy the next Jacob deGrom or the next Garrett Cole. Like he's still relatively unproven. I would say in my evaluation, he's probably like a borderline top 20 guy. Like he has the potential to be a top 10 pitcher in baseball. But at this point, I'd say there's probably at least like 15 guys I would take over him, no doubt, especially at the money he's making. So I'm just so sick of his free agency getting dragged out like this, acting like he's LeBron James. Like people gave LeBron shit for the decision. At least he's a generational all-time basketball player. Trevor Bauer is a good, not great starting pitcher. So I'm happy it's done. The way it ended, though, as badly as I want to make fun of Mets fans for it, I just feel bad for him. That was a fucked up thing to do. And I don't buy for 1 second that it was a mistake. You don't mock up Mets t-shirts because you might sign there and have them accidentally drop on your website and then accidentally drop the Dodgers hat and the Angels hat. It was all a ploy. It was obviously. And also, shout out my man Bob Nightingale. I feel bad for him. It's hilarious when he fucks up, but I think in this case, I think he legitimately probably directly got information from Bauer's camp that he was signing with the Mets and that's what he went on. So I feel bad for Bob. Fuck Trevor Bauer. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. I'm also annoyed that he apologized. That was almost the worst part to me because it was so insincere. Like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. It was a total mistake. I'm blaming it on my team. Like blah blah blah. Like, no, dude, we know you're like just someone who wants the attention. You're someone who enjoys like the trolling part of it. It made me so mad. It made me you say you feel bad for the Mets fans, and I agree because they got toyed with a potential really good starting pitcher. But I think it's better for them, and it's better for them. I think it's like I almost am happy that they wound up not getting him because they first of all they don't have to pay him $40 million. I mean off the bat. Second of all, you were gonna have to deal with his. I mean, I don't even know if it's like tantrums that it is. But you were gonna have to deal with whatever the hell he is, and you were going to get very annoyed by the fact that you were paying this guy $40 million, and he's probably going to, maybe he'll pitch to a 2.5 ERA, probably most likely somewhere above 3, I think is where he'll fall by the end of the year. And you're going to be like, we just paid $40 million for that. Are you kidding me? So pay Francisco Lindor next year, pay Michael Conforto. I don't think they have anyone else that's Syndergaard, pay Noah Syndergaard if he comes back healthy. That's kind of pending. But pay the guys that are talented, that fit in New York. Lindor does, absolutely. So I'm not even considering that. I don't care. He hasn't played a game yet with them. He fits in New York. Don't worry about that. You got lucky not having to deal with Trevor Bauer. And moving over to the people who did get him, is it bad for the Dodgers? No. I mean, like, he'll probably pitch, like I said, to a 2.53 ERA. That's good. That's really good, and it's good to have him as probably your third guy. I do think he's going to be behind Buehler and Kershaw. Whether they give the nod to Kershaw as being like the ace, like the opening day starter, just as like a sort of tip to the cap to him for being like the ace for so long. So I think it's probably going to go Kershaw, Buehler, Bauer. Regardless, that's a great 1, 2, 3. Especially come postseason time. It makes them competitive. I think it's a move they had to make, considering that the Padres are in the division and we're making so many moves. I think it now makes them the best rotation in baseball. But, they definitely paid the price for it. I think they're going to pay the price for it this year, next year, the year after. I can't see him opting out. But, I think it's a move they kind of were handcuffed to make. So it just sucks. I'm out on Trevor Bauer. I'm glad he's going to the NL, where the NL West, where like nobody has to deal with him. If he was on the Mets, we were going to hear about him every single week, saying something, whether it's his performance, or just something he was doing on social media or his YouTube. So I'm glad we don't have to talk about him for a little bit. We can just wait for the postseason to have him kind of come up in headlines again.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a move the Dodgers had to make, but I'm with you. I think that they were in a position where it was kind of a move where they could just throw the money at him and say, fuck it. Whereas other teams would be better suited spending that $85 million, because that's kind of how I look at it. I feel like it's like a 2-year, $85 million deal, somewhere else. And I think the Mets fall into that category. If you could get Trevor Bauer, or they could get a starting pitcher, a center fielder, and a reliever or two with that money. And then still, you're right, they have guys to lock up in Lindor and Conforto and potentially Syndergaard next year. So, I said I felt bad for Mets fans for getting trolled, but at the end of the day, they absolutely did dodge a bullet. And I think he would have been a mess in New York. I really do. I think if he was pitching well, things would have been fine. But at the first sign of something going wrong, if he gets in a Twitter fight with fans, or, Marcus Stroman doing it, I think has the potential to blow up. But he's also on a 1-year deal, and everyone kind of knows that he's a back end of the rotation starter at best. Trevor Bauer, if you're paying this guy $40 million a year, he's coming off a Cy Young, and he pitches like a 4 ERA in New York, and his antics are going on, that would have been a nightmare. Plus the fact that he would have been making more money than Jacob deGrom, which I don't care how little Jacob deGrom cares, because I know he doesn't. He's a very low-maintenance player, and I respect the shit out of that. It has to bother him at least a little bit that this guy has won 2 out of the last 3 Cy Youngs, easily could have beaten Bauer for it last year, and then he would have been making like $10 million less a year than him. I think that would have rubbed him the wrong way, as it should have.
Yeah, Yeah, DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. I don't care if Trevor Bauer, for even a second, thinks that he is better than Jacob DeGrom just because he had a one better year, what third of a year than than Jacob DeGrom. So yeah, I agree. I think the Mets dodged a bullet on that one. Did you miss out on a good pitcher? Yeah. Did you get trolled? Yeah, you're the Mets. Kind of expect bad things to happen, but you dodged a bullet. You still had a great offseason that could potentially still be pretty good, depending on the little pieces that you're going to add now. But I think for the most part, the big pieces have fallen. You still had a great offseason. Let it go. Just chalk this up to just being a weird year, and let Trevor Bauer go do whatever the hell he wants to do in Los Angeles.
You know what was more tone deaf than Bauer's apology? I think this might have been the craziest thing I saw the entire time was Luba's tweet like a couple hours after he signed, being like, thanks for like all the photoshops and like memories, Mets fans. Like this was fun. Like you might hate us, but we love you. Like who the fuck is that for? Like is that supposed to like I don't understand. Like hey, like thanks. Like we used you for leverage, which like also. I don't even understand what the fuck the purpose of this was. Like, how are you building your brand? You're just pissing people off. I doubt the Dodgers were like, oh, he's putting Mets shirts on his site. We got to give him the third year now. Like, I don't understand what the fuck it was for. It just confused me.
I'm assuming.
I literally have no idea. I think he must just enjoy. I really don't understand what or who it was for. And I came into this offseason really enjoying Trevor Bauer. I thought his momentum vlogs were cool. I thought it was kind of cool. Maybe he would do a couple of vlogs in free agency, but the way he went about it was just so exhausting. I'm glad it's over. And you're right that I know the Dodgers are, going to be really good. So he'll be in the headlines and we'll see him on primetime and shit. But send him to the West Coast. I do not need more of his antics. I need like a couple months break from even hearing the name Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, the Rachel Luba tweet definitely had to count as like taunting or something like that, like the Antoine Winfield peace sign. That's got to be similar. Yeah. So thank God. I know we just talked about him for about 10 minutes, but thank God we're done talking about him for at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Past that, moving on to the next person we hate in baseball, Rob Manfred. And his rule changes, or I guess modifications, depending on whether they become permanent or not. But basically, everything that was happening from the 2020 season is now carrying over to 2021. 7-inning doubleheaders, man on second, and no universal DH, which people were really looking forward to. We'll get to the dead ball aspect too. But Nick, what are your thoughts on the rule changes for this year?
I mean,
you want to call them that, rule changes. Yeah.
I hate all of them. I really do. Universal DH doesn't really matter to me because I'm obviously a fan of an AL team in the Yankees, so I don't really care that much. I'll only care if I have to watch one of my pitchers run the bases and pull a Chim and Wong and break their foot in interleague play. So it doesn't matter. It's stupid that we're having pitchers bat in 2021, but whatever. The 7-inning doubleheaders I hate, but at the end of the day, at the same time, if we see more situations like the Cardinals and the Marlins where teams are taking days off, it would be pretty brutal for them to make games up with full doubleheaders. So not a fan of the 7-inning doubleheaders, but fine. I can live with it. The runner on second and extra innings really pisses me off because I legitimately don't see the purpose of it. I just don't. I don't understand why it's so much better to play a 10, 11 inning game than like a 13, 14 inning game. How often do you really see a game stretch out to like 15, 16, 17 innings? Almost never. And
twice a year.
I hate the take that people like, I'll see baseball fans say this. They're like, oh, well, I actually don't even like those long games. Like, I fucking love those games because you only get them every once in a while. They're thrilling. I know that they take long and you end up staying up late and the next day at work sucks, whatever. But like your team wins that game, you feel so accomplished. Like I just saw a highlight today. Someone tweeted out, it was like Gio Urshela hitting a go-ahead single in the 14th inning in a game in 2019 at the Angels. I was up till like 3:30 in the morning watching that game. The next day fucking sucked, but we won. And you know what? If we would have lost, I would have lived with it. That's the highs and lows of being a fan. You go through shit like that. I hate the idea that we need to wrap up this baseball game that's tied going into extra innings. Like last year, I think I said it before, the Yankees had one walk-off where they held them in the top half of the 10th. Then there was a grounder to second base, and Luke Voigt had like a walk-off sac fly. It was such a fucking shitty ending. I watched 3.5 hours of a baseball game, and a ground ball and a fly ball wins my team the game. Yeah, we won. It's not as rewarding. So that one I just don't understand because I feel like if you're showing up to play the game, just play it right, finish it out right. So I don't know. At the end of the day, it is what it is. As long as there's no expanded playoffs, I'll live with it. But at this rate, I'm fully expecting expanded playoffs. They passed it with a couple hours before the 2020 season. I will not believe that we're getting the normal playoff format until I see it.
Yeah, I don't expect the playoff format to be any different than it was in 2020, just for the fact that owners are going to cry poor again and just gives a chance for more teams to be in the playoffs, more TV money, things like that. So I don't expect that to change. I expect that to be part of almost this 2020, just circling back to the 2021 season. As for the man on second, I agree with you. I think that's the worst one. I'm okay with the 7 innings. It does piss me off a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're going to save arms. Like you said, people are probably going to have to reschedule games a good amount. Do you need to play 18 innings in a day? That's a lot. I mean, we used to do that. I mean, I'm wearing the shirt right now for NJAC. We used to do that for NJAC doubleheaders on Saturdays. 18 innings is a lot. You use a lot of arms, and it's draining. It is what it is. So I don't hate that as much. I get it. I do think it saves arms. It's going to save people long term. If that became a permanent rule because this is potential, I wouldn't like it, but I wouldn't hate it. I don't. Yeah,
It sucks, but I see where it's valuable. And at the end of the day,
exactly.
those forms you're missing out on, that's probably a AAA guy that shouldn't even be up there anyway, but he's up because you're trying. So I hate it. I don't like how fast the game goes, but at the end of the day, I completely see why it's a rule. I can live with that.
Yeah, that's the one I can live with. The no DH. I mean, I just think that's exciting. I think that it's something in baseball that while it's cool that the AL and NL differ from each other, I do think it's kind of old now. It's something that should be in baseball's past at this point. Pitchers shouldn't be running the bases. They don't hit anymore. It doesn't happen. It's not like this is 1914 where Babe Ruth was pitching and hitting at the same time. It's not like that anymore. You get pitchers that are good hitters once every 10 years. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth anyone's time anymore. Just move on from it. It was great in the past. It was cool to see Dontre Willis hit. It was cool to see Bartolo Colon hit a home run. But move on from it. Regardless, not happening this year. I'm a little annoyed by that, but it is what it is. The man on second base is just ridiculous to me. This is not arcade baseball. You know, it's not like you're trying to get a game in. It's not like your mom's at your friend's house and you got to go home. You know, you're not trying to finish a game. Play the game right. It almost just feels like it feels collegey and it feels a little unprofessional. And I just it's dumb. I get trying to minimize the games. It's kind of the same aspect of the 7 innings, but you're already doing the 7 inning doubleheader thing. You don't need to double down on the shortening of baseball. Nick, I think you tweeted this today where it's like the real fans are not worried about shortening baseball, and you're not shortening it to the point or speeding up the game even to that degree where it's going to change things that much. So all you're doing is just pissing us off, the real baseball.
Yep, exactly. There's no rule, and I'll keep saying this, there's no rule changes you can make to speed up baseball enough to the point where a casual fan who is not already watching baseball would be like, wow, actually baseball is fast enough now. It's went from 3 hours to 2 hours, 45 minutes. Awesome. No, if you really want to appeal to those people, you need some kind of alternate broadcast, which we can get into another time. But the only thing they're doing with these rules is pissing people off, and especially the runner on second, because like I said, the 7 inning doubleheaders, I get it, especially with COVID. The runner on second is doing nothing to minimize the risk of COVID. I don't understand that one at all. So, but like I said, as long as there's no expanded playoffs, which I'm expecting there to be because it's Manfred and he's the worst. If we play 162 games of baseball to watch more than half the league play the postseason, that's going to be so fucking stupid. And I enjoyed the wild card round just from a fan perspective. It was fun having that many playoff games on. But to watch your team win a division and then get nothing but home field advantage in a best of 3 series against a team that it won probably like 20 more games then is ridiculous. There's absolutely no point to that. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't stay, but for the reasons you said, it's more teams in the playoffs. It's more TV money. You know, owners can sell to their fans like, hey, you know, we had a $40 million payroll this year, but we only missed the playoffs by 5 games with 77 wins. I think that shit is going to perpetuate the fact that we're going to get expanded playoffs, but I really hope not, because that would be the worst rule change of them all.
Yeah, and Nick, you and I are both in agreement that the second wild card spot was one of the best things that baseball has done in the past few years. I guess probably about a decade. No, a little less. It was probably like 6 years ago?
2014 was the first year of
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, so
2013,
about 6,
14.
7 years ago, so a little less than a decade. I do think that's one of the best things that they've done because it keeps more teams in it just enough for it to be interesting, but it's not just letting everybody in. So I think that was perfect. But then if they're going to expand the playoffs, I'm really going to be like, okay, you're really starting to mess with the game a lot. So I am annoyed about that. Do you have anything more to say about that, or do you want to go into that ball?
No, I just hope that there's not going to be expanded playoffs, but I think we're on the same page that they're going to sneak it in at the last minute. Because I think they know that I think that they're kind of warming us up to it right now with the 7 inning doubleheaders and stuff. We saw last year and assumed might stay, and then they're just going to at the last second, like last year was literally hours before first pitch. I think they're going to do the same kind of shit like night before, be like, oh, playoffs are expanded, and everyone's just going to lose it completely.
Absolutely, 100%. So moving on to the other big change that has really affected the past few years of baseball, even though the MLB refused to admit it, is they're changing the baseball, like the physical baseball that pitchers are throwing, in an effort to center the ball. This is a statement from MLB, I believe. In an effort to center the ball with the specification range for COR, CCR, Rawling produced a number of baseballs from blah, 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 from the tension first rule. They're changing how the ball looks, feels, and weighs too, in an effort to reduce the number of home runs. I won't go all this through the specifications because it's you're not going to notice it on the baseball. It's not like they're making the ball gold or some shit like they're not making it red, but they're making it less home run prone and I guess more favorable to the pitchers, which is kind of interesting to the fact that they denied it, that there was any changes. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh, I think the ball was a little different. Oh, we'll change it. So baseball, get your shit together. That's my big takeaway from it. I don't think there's going to be that many less home runs. I still think spin rate has a lot to do with it, and launch angle has a lot to do with more home runs. But the baseball clearly, having been altered in some way, had a little bit to do with it. So there should be a decrease.
Yeah, I honestly don't hate this. I was listening to Evan Roberts talk about it on the Fan today, and I value his opinion because he's the big baseball guy and he's a purist without being like an old man yells at cloud kind of guy. So I tend to agree with him a lot. He liked it. His point was kind of this isn't really going to affect people who are home run hitters much. Like if you're an Aaron Judge, a Luke Voigt, a Giancarlo Stanton, they hit some actual tape measure shots. So maybe will it take a couple home runs away from them, a couple short porch jobs? Yeah, probably. But it's really not going to adversely affect them as much as maybe someone like DJ LeMahieu, who has found his power numbers becoming a Yankee because he kind of hits those home runs a couple feet over the short porch and right. So I expect DJ's power numbers to regress a little bit this year. That doesn't mean he's not still going to be a great hitter. I just think that maybe we'll see a little bit less home runs from him. And Evan also brought up, this is going to help a guy like Garrett Cole, who has had a home run problem the past few years, and he said something and it's so true. If you take away a couple of Garrett Cole's home runs in 2020, which was really his only problem, that ERA looks even better. It was already at 2.91. So I think that this could end up being something that helps the Yankees, who are full of power hitters and have an ace in Garrett Cole, who does have a bit of a home run problem, even if it does adversely affect the DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a benefit to the pitchers who I think have been frustrated in the past years through having to deal with it, having to deal with balls that they're like, okay, that shouldn't have gone out. Come on. I as a pitcher or former pitcher, I can agree that that's very frustrating when you feel like you did the right thing, you made the right pitch. Granted, you shouldn't be giving up balls that are going 300 feet. If you really feel like it shouldn't have been a home run, make a better pitch that they're not getting their barrel on. But besides the point, if you think it should have been a fly out and it goes out by 2 feet, it's very frustrating. So overall, I think it's going to be good for the pitchers. I think good for baseball. It was starting to get a little ridiculous how the home run numbers were like when they're saying the changes were made. So from 2018, 2019, 2020, in terms of what a full season would have been, it was just here and here. It was just okay, how did the whole league hit 100 more home runs? That's a little ridiculous.
Right.
So I think it'll kind of bring competitive balance back a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference, but it will have its effect on the game for sure.
Mm-hmm. Listen, home runs are fun, but so are pitchers' duels if you're a baseball purist. So, hopefully this tips the scales a little bit back and we see some more, even-sided games instead of, 20 to 18 affairs, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So Pretty much it. It is officially baseball season, so we're really excited about that. A lot more baseball content coming your way. Stuff like the expansion draft. We'll probably do division picks, maybe some power rankings, things like that. So just look out for that on the YouTube page. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and take out the garbage.
And floss your teeth, guys.
Floss your teeth. Get your oil changed, tires rotated, things like that. Tire pressure, put air in your tires. Just do what you got to do. Preventative maintenance.
Have a good one,
All right.
guys.
All right. See you guys next week.